Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 24, 2020 online gathering of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Hendersonville, North Carolina. We haven't met. My name is Don Rollins, and I serve this congregation as their accredited interim minister. My pronouns are he and him. As I mention each week, if you're interested in learning more about the congregation, visit uufhnc.org. Again, that is uufhnc.org. And to find out more about our larger denomination, go to uua.org. 3 announcements before we begin today's service. First, for all who'd like to share in the Sunday discussions at 11:30 a.m., Stones of Compassion, follow the Zoom link contained in the email notice sent out yesterday. Those parts will not be recorded. Second, you're invited to join us for the next installment of Wonderful Wednesday on May 27th. The idea is to have a midweek program for UUFH folks to stay in touch and do some sharing. We'll begin with a virtual supper at 5:30 for those who want to bring food. For those who'd like, please feel free to join us. We'll then move into a short Vesper service at 6:15, and I'll provide some music and readings and stories. You'll receive yet another separate announcement and Zoom link the day before the program. Join us for a midweek boost in the arm. Last, given we're observing Memorial Day here in the U.S., today's service has to do with war. It's war within, war among, and war without. And the touchstone for the service is the meditation credited to the Chinese mystic Lao Tzu from the 6th century BCE. And to guide our conversations at 11:30, hold this question to heart as you watch the recording. 2 questions, really. What are the costs of war in our hearts? And then secondly, what are the costs of war in our world? So hearts and then the world. Enough with the announcements. Now make yourselves comfortable as we enter into this time together. Watch the video in total, pause it, come back later, multitask if you have to. The goal here is not to be perfect. The goal here is to laugh and think, touch a deep place, and go forth until we meet again. Again, I always say it and I believe it. This is your time to do with as you need. My spouse Mary is going to be helping me along the way today. Got a good story for you. But first, let's light the chalice. With these words, just as Judaism has the Star of David, Christianity, the cross, and Islam, the crescent moon and star, many Unitarian Universalists look to a flaming chalice to symbolize our faith tradition. Today's lyrics, today's words for chalice lighting come to us from the Upanishads. That's a text within the Hindu tradition. As I read them, let them remind you and me, for real, how difficult it is to be a peacemaker, how hard it often is to control the only thing that is ours to control, our falling down selves. So let us be gathered with these words. Lead me from death to life, and from falsehood to truth. Lead me from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. Peace, peace, and peace.
Hi, my name's Mary, and this is my daughter Samantha.
Hi.
And this being Memorial Day weekend, we're of course talking about conflict. And then we brought it down to a little bit smaller scale, conflict among families, and specifically our family.
Which we had a lot of.
Which we did. I have 4 children, all 3.5 years apart, and Sam's the youngest. She's 16 now. But you can imagine growing up with 3 girls and 1 boy, there was quite a bit of bickering going on. So about 9 years ago or so, when Sam was around 7, that would have made her brother around 10 or 11. And that would have made Megan about 14. And Shannon was about 17 at that time. So I took this conflict management course, and I brought these skills home, and I was teaching them all about active listening and listening to each other, and then they had to repeat it back. And
which we just loved.
Yeah, they did. Not really. But I would make them do this every time that they got in an argument. So this was a process, a true process. And so it took anywhere from a half an hour to 45 minutes, sometimes an hour for them to do this. Sometimes more, depending on how stubborn they were that day. But not only did they have to listen to each other and then repeat it back, they also had to come up with they had to solve the problem. They had to come up with several different solutions to the problem, and then they had to together pick the best solution. So after, I would guess, probably a couple of months of doing this,
I would say more a couple of years.
Well, yeah, it went on a couple of years, but the first couple of months were pretty intensive. Every time y'all would have an argument, I'd make you do this. So after the first couple of months, I would notice something happening, which was they would start to get in an argument, and then I would hear one of them say, "Shh, Mom's gonna hear us, and she'll make us do it." And by it, they meant the process.
We did not like it. We shared a hate of the process.
But it did make a difference, kind of in an unintentional way. But you did learn how to listen to each other, which I did notice bled over into other areas of their life. So they were listening to each other better, even though they didn't really realize it. Did it decrease the number of conflicts in the family? It did, unintentionally, in a roundabout kind of way. If I heard them start to bicker and they weren't coming up with a solution right away to it, like arguing over the computer or the television or whose turn it was to do whatever it was, all I would have to do was from the other room say, "Do we need to do the process?" And all of a sudden...
we would not want to do that at all, and so we would shut up.
They would, but you would also figure out the problem pretty quickly.
Yeah. Sometimes. I remember just 3 years ago, me and Matt had to do it for like almost an hour because we were not agreeing with each other.
Well, as it turns out, another thing that it took them a while to grasp was when you're coming up with ideas to solve the problem, saying just do it my way is probably not the best way to solve a problem.
I thought it was a great idea.
But what I was hoping that they would take away from this, and what I think maybe they did take away in some manner, is that you really do have to listen to other people to solve a problem. And that even if you may not like a shared solution that you come up with, you can't just have it your way all the time.
I had to sadly learn that.
Being the youngest, that's a hard lesson for the youngest child.
Definitely since I thought for the first 5 years of my life, everyone was there to serve me.
Yeah. Another casualty of being the youngest child with 2 older sisters who like to pretend like you're their live baby doll. Yeah. So, back to the conflict management. When you said that just a couple of years ago, they had to do it for about an hour. This was not with my intervention. They did this on their own. I didn't ask them to do it. I did ask you to do it? Oh. I don't remember that because I know that
it was after you had gotten off of work, so you were really tired.
I was very tired
and not happy about us fighting.
That's true. So, well, but I didn't like supervise y'all doing it. Y'all did it on your own.
No.
Yeah, so they did it on their own. So they can do it, which is really, I guess, the point of all this is that learning how to solve problems, it can be a long and bumpy road. But if teenagers can learn how to do it, then I have hope for the rest of the world that maybe the rest of us can figure that out too. So that would be my wish for this Memorial Day weekend, is that we can all learn how to solve our problems without fighting and without bloodshed. And that at some point, maybe cooler heads will prevail and it'll be a little bit more peaceful world. That's my hope anyway. So, thanks.
For some of you watching this weekend, Memorial Day isn't just about war and peace. It's also about remembering those who have died, some long ago, some quite recently. They may be kinfolk or friends or really anyone whose lives crossed yours. But being a part of a gathered community also means saying farewell to those that we love and know. And in that spirit, I want to shift your attention for just a few moments as we use this season of remembrance to speak the names of those members and friends who've left us over this last fellowship year. In order to protect their privacy, I'll only use their last initial. So we call the names of those who've gone before. Violet W., Roxana W., Dick B., Charlotte S., Joyce D., B. S., Ray S., Jim B., Sally V., Susan L., Helen S., Don E. We hold those names to the light. We bless all those who've gone before, just as they have blessed our lives and blessed the fellowship. For those of you who've been tuning in with us during the pandemic, wondering when I'd do something less like a sermon and try something different. Today is your day. But I have for you this Memorial Day weekend really just 3 short excerpts on war and peace from 3 religious traditions, with a few comments, of course. So let's begin in the East with these familiar words from Chinese mystic and teacher Lao Tzu. If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is peace to be between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. I don't know about you, but I have always found these words daunting, maybe even haunting. So many warlike thoughts and words and actions have made up my days and nights. So much to learn about the spiritual discipline of being, not just seeking peace, marching for peace. Then there's the odd mystical proposition that the peace in my heart is somehow connected to the peace in my neighborhood, let alone shooting wars in places I can barely find on the map. And yet, sure enough, here comes a fairly wacky peacemaker from 500 years ago, 500 years before anybody ever heard of Jesus, telling me in tough love form, until my heart and those of my earthly siblings reach some elusive critical mass for peace, I should expect the carnage and the death counts to keep right on going. Best as I can tell, Lao Tzu was making the case that in our daily walks, peace is a choice, war is a choice, and both have consequences. Right now, as we gather online, being at peace with yourself might feel like a heavy platitude, kind of like somebody telling you to be thankful at Thanksgiving and be merry at Christmas. So I say this, even if you have to save the peace for another day, know that within you, you have a particle of the universal peace, and that peace is ready when you are. And then there's that list of stuff from the very heart of Hebrew wisdom literature. You know, the English version Pete Seeger put to paper, and the Byrds made an early country rock standard. The book of Ecclesiastes is a truly interesting study and trust between Yahweh and the Hebrew nation. It's in some ways God's set of promises that even though life will bring joy and it will bring sorrow and peace and war, the going ups are worth the coming downs. Remember these words? To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. There's a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. It's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. There's a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and yes, a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, time to lose, time to keep, time to cast away. A time to rend, time to sow, time to keep silence, a time to speak. There's a time to love and a time to hate. Excuse me. There's a time for war and a time of peace. So here, the author makes no case for connecting peace in the heart with peace in the world, but to make peace with trouble and triumph and do it all in the same life. That none of us here will get it right, but here comes, keep on planting, keep on laughing, keep on loving. expect hate, expect war, and keep right on living. Finally, Jesus had a little something to say about war and peace and justice. As with Lao Tzu, the authors/editors of Ecclesiastes, we can't know for sure, but we do know their advice for living. Remember these words: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit this earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure of heart, for they will see God. And blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. And blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." So for Jesus, those who are warred upon will one day live in peace. They will find comfort. They will find mercy. They will be persecuted no more. There is no separation between the Jesus of peace and the Jesus of justice, the prophet who stood in the tradition of Isaiah and called the people to be lights to all the nations. So this Memorial Day, wherever you are, whatever your beliefs, consider Lao Tzu's counsel that peace is a choice you make over and over, a set of promises we break and then renew. Listen to Ecclesiastes telling us that we must learn to live in a world where war and peace are mingled. And take with you the spirit and the words of the Jewish carpenter, proclaiming a message of peace with justice. Hold all these things with me, and blessings and best wishes for this holiday of remembrance. The benediction for today comes to us from UU Minister David Hicks McPherson. He tells us to wish for compassion, to pray for courage, to experience doubt, to bear sorrow, to strive for sureness. All these are qualities for which each of us should be grateful. But to feel a genuine fellowship for the whole human family, to act so that our empathy is evident. Wherever we go, that's the object. That's the lifelong goal. Amen.
Skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountains in majesty. Singing about it. Shirley, help me sing this. Thanks, Katrina. I appreciate it.